Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis, and today we're going to be talking about Hedera and Hbar, so sit back, relax, and before we fully jump on into this video, I do just want to ask guys to please leave a like on this video. It does help the channel grow immensely, and of course, I always do greatly appreciate it. Now, overall, we are seeing a nice pullback on Bitcoin. I would say that we want to see Bitcoin back above 42K plus in order for us to even be, fairly, bullish on Bitcoin. Overall, the chart still looks pretty good though in terms of higher lows being put in place. We've been seeing some nice pullbacks here and there. There has been, for the most part, a lot of bearishness around this current market currently. And when we look at the overall structure, even on Bitcoin, I'm not too concerned at all. And I have been saying this for a while now, simply because of the current, price of, Bitcoin and where we are on the chart in terms of the macro view, even going back as far as like January. I still think that the structure holds strong. I don't think that we are going to see too much lows from here. I mean, we could pull back to about like roughly 38K, which would still be a higher low, and it will be our fib level retest, which I can kind of show you guys in this video real quick. But mainly, I want to talk to you guys about the concerning factors around Hbar's price action. Then we're going to be talking about a few things within Hedera that you could look at on the macro view. So first off, the price chart. So I have been talking to you guys about Hedera for a while. In fact, in terms of the price chart, we are testing some pretty significant lows going back as far as the summertime. This is the point where I would say, hey, take a look at the viewpoint on where we currently are at compared to back here. But ultimately, in terms of the USD chart for Hedera, it has been fairly bearish against resistance. Now, if we continue downward in this, downtrend, we will see some pretty, significant lows, mainly at around like 15.80 in terms of the 15-cent zone, with possible, bounces at around roughly 16.5 cents. And if we are going down that low, I mean, hey, kind of, if we're looking at things on the macro view, it still kind of pushes our price charts to even the higher points. So like the lower that we come down to test, like say for so if we came down to test the low going back as far as June, it will actually push our price targets on the macro view actually higher in terms of the price jump when we do start to break out. So it's not that this is actually bearish for us. I would say like lower prices at the current level are pretty bearish, but on the macro view, it's actually bullish for us in terms of the higher points. But the main question here is, are we at the lowest point? Is our major low put in place? Is the bottom in for Hbar? And as I would love to say yes, the bottom is in, we would have to wait to see this structure being tested going back to the 18th, which was a recent low on Hedera. Now, the issue here, and this is what I would say is concerning about Hedera, is the lows that we have been putting in place since going back as far as December. So here we have this major low, which was the lowest point going back as far as the summertime, right? Followed by an even lower low, and this was like sort of a higher low, it was slightly higher. And now we actually have a lower low put in place. So if we do continue this pattern, we will continue to see lower lows put in place until we get down to about roughly 13.5 cents. Now, as we watch this, I have been saying, to pay attention to the other factors around this, aka meaning RSI and also volume. Now, volume has been absolutely, terrible since going back as far as roughly February 22nd. Now, if we are looking at the volume currently, we need a lot more volume in, and it's not only volume. I think that we need a lot more buyer demand. With the staking, being released on Stater, I think that that's great for individuals that do want to lock up their tokens and really kind of just, I would say, get some sort of gain out of HODLing your tokens in terms of APY, but realistically speaking, it's not going to provide any buyer demand. We need a lot more buyer demand here in order for the price of Hbar to actually be boosted. We've been seeing a few announcements from Hedera here and there that are slightly bullish, but we need more either marketing and or more listings. I wouldn't say for certain that marketing would allow for a drastic price increase for Hedera. Right now I would say, I'm not too focused on price just because, this is a long-term HODL for me, and I've always said that. But when we look at the RSI, when we look at the volume, when we look at the price, things just look fairly bearish on the short-term span in terms of price action. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be the continuation process of the price action. When we look back at these times in, say for so a month, month and a half, maybe even 2 months, the prices that we see right now are going to look like the prices that we've seen back in, of course, the summertime when we were at around these prices in September, where we're basically wishing that we could go back to this time and buy, Hbar. But again, in terms of the bottom, it doesn't look like the bottom is in yet. And the Bitcoin price chart is pretty much printing that picture for us as well. We actually just seen this breakdown, a continued breakdown on this. And we've seen a low being targeted, a low that we haven't seen since going back as far as, guess what, May of 2021, which during that time it was fairly bearish. Now, as we watch this and as we are really kind of addressing this, I would say we need the Bitcoin price chart to have a significant bounce here in order for Hbar to stay above the current low that we have put in place during April. If this is going to continue to break down here, guys, just prepare for some significant lows being met on Hedera. And when I say this, and I say this with caution, those support levels that we are really kind of addressing for the Bitcoin price chart, the last line of defense would be about 453 sats, which is the support going back to March. If that gets broken, if we break down below that, the next point would be at the 297 sat level from March of 2021. Now, mind you, March of 2021, we were sitting at about roughly 14.5 cents. If we do, continue this breakdown process, and if we do break down below, I would say this last major wick event at about 13.5 cents, we will see some pretty juicy buys for Hbar. But I would say, if we are looking at the Hbar price chart currently, and we're really kind of just looking back on the current structure of Hbar's price action, I would say if we do hold this level, it's not a bad time to accumulate. I would say as we watch the RSI kind of hitting this point that we have been at for a while now, going back as far as roughly like the beginning of April. We're kind of in this long rolling accumulation zone until we do see that significant break down below, again, that 18-cent zone. So if 18 cents holds, I would definitely be loading up here as, we do kind of watch altcoins gain some strength on the 24-hour span, which I have been addressing in terms of ZRX and also on the total 2. As you guys do see on the 24-hour span, we have been seeing a lot of altcoins kind of jumping out a little bit. On the 7-day span, you guys can really see it as well, which I have been addressing and watching closely. In terms of the Bitcoin price chart for Hedera, though, this is probably one of the most significant charts that I have been watching since we just made a pretty significant low going back as far as roughly like July. So again, we'd be hoping for a bounce here because it's not only about fundamentals. I know that a lot of people, don't like the fact that I don't talk about the price action too much on Hbar. Well, here you guys have it. In terms of Hbar's price action, I would say that it looks fairly bearish. And if we don't see a significant breakout point here soon, then hey, things are going to look pretty rough going forward. Now, of course, to give you guys some comfort, maybe to help you guys sleep at night, I did tweet out yesterday saying, Hbar is going to disrupt crypto. These things take time and they, are being built. I don't even concern myself on the price because I still see them building what will be the biggest innovation to crypto to date. And a lot of people still are asking me, hey, what are your 2022 targets? Well, it's not specifically year bound. I've always said that my target points for Hbar still remain at $3 to $6. And the reason for this is because, like I said, the lower the price action that we go right now, currently, the higher our fib levels do get pushed. Right now, currently, in terms of the $3 to $6 range, it's still peaking above the 4618. Technically, could we walk them back a little bit and say like $2 to like roughly $5? Yeah, sure. But I still see a $3 Hbar still being something that could happen, especially if we are going off of like the market cap perspective. And when we are looking at, the current fib outreaches, I see a $2 H bar still being, something that significantly happens, especially by the end of, the cycle. If we are talking about like a bull run being in place or not. I know everybody's still kind of concerning themselves with Bitcoin. I think as altcoins kind of bleed out here, a lot of people are still losing the idea of, hey, we're not in a bull market anymore. We are in a bear market, which is something that you actually want to see. You want to see the retail individuals being shaken out. But I have been addressing Bitcoin's price action for a while now. And as we do look at Bitcoin, is it in a bear market? In my opinion, no. I think that we're kind of just trading sideways in sort of I would say slow crab walking market, if you will. But what really is a bear market is when we do see a massive crashing point in the market. And I say this because a lot of people don't really know what a bear market is. If you guys were here during March, March was basically what was almost a massive bear market. And this was in terms of a price action drop. This was a pretty significant dropping point, as it was roughly about a 60, almost 4% drop in price, and altcoins got hit pretty hard during that time. Again, a lot of people still think that Bitcoin is in sort of this nice bear market because we are seeing a dead cat bounce, if you will. Again, going off of the highs of 2017, 2018, we did see roughly about a 70% drop in price here, and then roughly during November is when we did see a massive drop in price off of those highs of roughly an 84% drop in price on Bitcoin. Now, again, mind you, this was an 84% drop in price off of our current high. We'll go off of the all-time high, right? So off of our current all-time high down to this point here. This is also why I say, people are unaware of what an actual bear market is. This is only a 52.18% of a drop in price from the all-time high to our bottom in January. Again, even going off of the recent low from the summertime, again, roughly 55% of a drop in price. Now, what happened after this? Well, even in the summertime to the all-time high, roughly we've seen, 139.95% of an increase in price. If we do see that same repetitive process, aka 139% of an increase in price, check out where we go to in terms of Bitcoin, roughly about $80,000. Which I've always said, roughly around 80,000 to even 94K could possibly be our topping point. If we do continue to see massive capital flow in, then we could be seeing, possibly 120 to 160K plus, which will lead to, again, Hbar having a significant year ahead. But I have been watching Bitcoin closely because if we do repeat that same process, that is going to be something pretty significant to watch, as we are kind of in this sort of sideways momentum while everyone is continuing to say bear market, bear market, bear market. We are seeing FUD loading up, and we are also seeing again the clearer picture being printed out in front of us, which is Bitcoin making higher lows, higher highs every single time that it goes to move. And by the time by what I mean by this is on the weekly, as you guys do see here, I could actually kind of show you guys this real quick. And I'm going to tie this back to Hbar here shortly, but we see this, low followed by a higher low, followed by yet another higher low here. And we are seeing, a high, a higher high, and if the higher high next doesn't take us to roughly 50K plus, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed, but it will most likely be 50K plus on the next major move, which will bring altcoins like Hbar back to a significant point, as well as the market is kind of ranging with Bitcoin currently. So, it sucks to say though, around Hbar, the only reason why we're kind of going downward in terms of a price action move isn't because of the internal team dumping, which I know that that's probably going to be said all over Twitter today, but it's actually just because we are still in a Bitcoin-driven market. We are still in an uncertain market where we're kind of just waiting for Bitcoin to make its next major move. And I have been addressing this for days and even weeks, where I have been watching the dollar kind of find some weakness, and I have been watching sort of Bitcoin continue on this nice little I would say it's building a pretty good structure in terms terms of us getting to 50K plus. It's going to take some time, and I do expect by around the end of this month into like the beginning of May to have this market back into, you know, a pretty solid structure. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, I hope that you all have a beautiful day or beautiful night wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.